Hi,
Hello,
I'm Victoria,
Grace.
and we're Colors of Cannabis.
Guys, this is our 10th
Yeah.
episode. Thank you so much for sticking around for if you've been here from the beginning, so much love. If you just joined us, freaking amazing. Thank you. But yeah, today for our 10th episode, we're kind of just keeping it green. And we just want to talk about some things that are going on in the cannabis industry. And I wish that I could say this is a little more fun of a topic, but there's just too many things going on that we can't avoid this one.
I wanted to really talk about the fact that on Monday, February 1st.
I was going to say, it was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, Monday, February 1st. The BCC revoked 186 distribution licenses. They revoked some micro business licenses, some retail licenses. And that's a really hard hit to the industry. If you're not familiar, if you're a novice to the cannabis industry, what it actually entails to get a license in this industry is incredibly hard and costly. And you can't imagine what goes into just getting that license. And it honestly, your entire life savings could go into just getting the license. And then you could fail in a couple of months. There's not the kind of quick, fast, big cash in cannabis that people thinks that there is. This is a business, a regulated business, just like many other industries. And so there's so many things that are involved in the cost of operating. So to revoke 186 licenses, the BCC is essentially saying you're doing something that is against these regulations that were set forth, and you can't operate in this space anymore. But guess what? You still have to pay rent in that location. You still have to pay employees. You're probably going to want to sue the BCC to get your license back. So you don't want to lose any of those assets that you're holding on to.
And you may not even want to sue the BCC, because if you do have the money to keep going, you might still want to keep going, which is what friends of mine actually came across when everything first changed and went recreational.
And I mean, look, I am definitely theorizing here. I do think part of this 186 license revocations were probably some misguided attempt by the BCC and I'm being real. I think the BCC has made it way too hard to operate as a legal cannabis operator, because there's a lack of understanding about our product, right? If you understand regulations, multi-packs are technically against regulations. You can't have a flight of cannabis joints, but yet they're sold because we've found loopholes.
I can think of a few
there's
companies.
Technically not allowed by the BCC, and actually, if you look on their frequently asked questions, it states that very clearly.
Wow.
In the regulations and the explanations of these regulations. So I do think the BCC has probably been very misguided in why they took this step. But I kind of wanted to go through for consumers and show them how they could verify a license.
Ooh, so we do have something here.
Exactly.
It is actually very close to where I live and a brand that I like. And so we're going to go ahead and show them. This is Cali Kush Farms.
And this is bcc.ca.gov. And right on the first page, it'll tell you how many active distributors, how many retail storefronts there are, how many delivery services and testing labs that there are in the state of California. Now, I will say this is very odd that it happened, because there are some theories right now in the space that maybe the BCC did this on accident, and it was an error. But when you do go to do the license search currently on the BCC website, it is definitely down. So I don't know what's happening there, but typically you would be able to search and verify the license information for a distributor, a retailer, a testing lab, anybody. And actually, if you could hand me that.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm handing her the box that contains the cannabis inside. And as we've kind of shown you before, and it was really cool to get to do this through the Zoom meeting. If you guys remember in the last, I think 2 episodes ago, we actually got to scan one of these. And on the back of the box, there is a QR scanning code. And then Victoria, take it from there.
So here on your cannabis packaging, you will typically find, actually not typically, you will always find in the state of California some of this information here that we're going to share with you. So what I like to tell people to really pay attention to, ignore those total cannabinoids. I know that seems to be really important from a consumer's point of view right now, and you want that hardest hitting stuff. I am not in that boat. Look, I smoke all day. A 17% cannabis strain is going to hit me in a different way than a 29% cannabis strain is going to hit me, but it's still going to have therapeutic benefits. So for me, that's not the important part of this. What is important is when it was packaged on. That tells me how fresh this is.
It's a plant, guys.
And the reality is stuff doesn't always move off of retail shelves the way people imagine it will. So I've definitely gone into retailers and bought stuff that was packaged 5-6 months ago.
And I'm just going to point out really quick because this makes me happy. I see here that this was actually packaged on January 20th of this year. So that makes me very happy, guys, because it's within the last couple months.
It's within the last couple weeks.
No, I'm just saying in general, it makes me happy when it's...
Oh, yeah.
But this is, within the last couple weeks. This is as fresh as it gets.
Yeah.
Very exciting. What do we got? Papayahuasca.
Yep. So the package date to me is really important. And I think you need to recognize that the package date certainly plays a part in whether or not consumers enjoy your brand. Guess what? If that retailer sold your product 5 months past when you packaged it, it's not the same product. It is like you at the store bought milk, and when you got home, you really got curdled cheese. That's
a great way to explain it to people that don't either don't consume cannabis or are very new to it and want to really understand. It's like the herbs in your cupboard.
Yeah.
You can't actually keep them for years, despite what some might believe.
Yeah. They go bad.
Yeah, they go bad. Things can get mold if they're left in a room with moisture. It's just... People check the dates on the back, and you do have the right to say something to your bud tender.
You can ask for a fresher product. I've actually gone in. I really like, I hate even saying the brand. I really like these pre-rolls that have a glass tip and a really nice infused paper. And they're costly. Like, it's not a cheap pre-roll. And I've bought them, and people given me some that are a year old, and I'm like, no, we can't do this. But the other part of that packaging I wanted to mention was the license on it. So it said cultivated by, and then it had a license number that said, it'll usually start with a CCL, and that's how you know it's a cultivation license. But it'll have cultivated by. So one of the things that I hear people complaining about is not really knowing who's putting what in what packages. And that is a real thing, right?
How do you mean? Like they might actually switch?
Yeah, like
flower?
they don't necessarily trust that brand is the one cultivating the flower.
Oh, okay.
And they're not wrong in assuming
so
that.
The specific cultivator of the strain.
Exactly.
Got it.
And they're exactly right. You have these very large brands that are serving large amounts of flower to the state of California, and there's only so much cultivation space right now. So sometimes they have to source flower from other cultivations that are outside of their own cultivation to meet the demand of their customers.
I mean, that's disheartening to hear.
It's
As a
why is that
patient,
disheartening to hear?
I just would want to know the truth. I mean, is it like
but
my
we're
brain,
doing that.
What do you mean? No, we would say powered by or
Right. And they don't necessarily, you don't have to say it, but like who it's, who
I
grew
think
it.
it's okay
I think
to-
it's fair to do that. I like
Yeah.
when companies do that. Papa Select, one of my favorite things to dab on. They source from a lot of different places to process their flower, and they will put cultivated by in the cultivation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge fan of Cali Kosher. They
Oh,
grow
yeah.
some fire
Love
papaya.
it. Oh, yes.
The papaya frosting I had at Emerald Cup last year, I'm just got them for like $25 a gram. I snatched up as many as I could. It was absolutely
Lucky.
amazing. So I do like when companies take that step to show you, hey, we did cultivate this from where somebody else cultivated this, and we got this, and this is a collaboration, and we're a partner. But they don't have to do that, and I think that's okay too, because you're trying to grow your brand. And so with that being said, as a consumer, you can take the power in your own hand to look at that cultivation ID, that cultivation license, and start to
Exactly.
recognize where certain strains and things you like are coming from. Because I'm going to share a secret that isn't as well known in the novice cannabis recreational user. I mean, people in our industry know this, but you can get flower that is selling at $75 an eighth, and they're A buds. Oh, and all
I
day,
know,
yeah,
I
all
know.
day you're getting $75 an eighth, and
I know.
they're A buds, and it's an amazing strain, and you love it. But guess what? That same cultivator had 50 other pounds that they needed to sell, and maybe they were the bee buds or little popcorn buds. But it's the same thing from the same plant, from the same batch, in a different packaging, on a different shelf, at a different price point. So if you can learn to recognize who's cultivating what and what you like, you can find what you like at a price point that works for your budget, and super high quality cannabis.
Every shop owner everywhere is like, don't tell them.
I mean, I will never name the brand.
No,
but
but I think that's awesome because admittedly, I didn't even
Yeah.
fully think about that. Like I knew that
Yeah.
I'm not dumb. I know people are,
Right.
doing this. It's just do the math. It
Yeah.
has to be. But wow, I hadn't really taken that next step. And now I think I'm going to kind of thrifty shop in that way. But I did want to say one thing about the whole misleading.
yeah.
I want to push that into our next topic because we're, I think what are we? About halfway. Oh, okay. Okay, well, I kind of want to just quickly, though, segue it into just the sneakiness factor of what's going on. And we say this almost every week in one capacity or in another. But basically, sorry, I got a little distracted. Victoria's vibrating.
That was
the
last
energy in the
episode.
room, right? It was from last week. It's still hot in here. No, I just think that with all the sneakiness, another part of that is not just, changing the weed, but also the back end of it. Because there aren't these regulations, because there aren't certain standards put in place yet, there's also a disconnected on our end. Everything from sales to just whether you literally have a desk job, we're just kind of still seeing things that are happening. And I know like one thing I kind of wanted to bring up is we're seeing a lot of like pay to play.
Oh, yeah.
And we're not going to name any companies today, but like for me, I mean, in my own experience, it was a really huge company. It was a large media
Yeah.
plus other, we'll leave it vague, but a huge publication, a huge company. And at some point in my life, I had the opportunities to work with them and was privileged to even get an award. And so it's hard to, to even say anything at that point because it was so exciting to have that. But then that moment was almost taken away because I hadn't signed up for anything. I received a call and then an email, and then, yay, I'm getting a really cool award from my peers. And then suddenly, imagine I had a male that was a higher up in the company then contact me, and nothing of what this man said was true. Pass the do. Sorry, heard the bong rip. Nothing of what this man said was true, but he called and then used that to his advantage and was like, hey, like, I got you this. And he didn't. But he said, you know, I got you this and I gave you this opportunity. And now essentially you owe me. And at first, it was as simple as, you know, he was kind of pressuring me to then sponsor things and put money back into it. And I'm just a single person at that point. Like, it wasn't the company I worked for that was being awarded. Right. So I didn't have the type of income to do those type of things. And also, who likes to feel like, oh, I got this, but it's contingent on me this. Paying.
Yeah, no.
So it was pretty gross. And so when that advanced, I was very fortunate that a woman who worked at that company at the time, who doesn't anymore, actually reached out to me and basically told me that this man was lying, that she'd heard the conversation. And you have to understand, I felt like, what? How can this be allowed to happen?
Can I ask quickly, were there sexual connotations involved in that conversation?
So later at another meeting after, because I was very hurt by that, and I let
as you should have been.
Let it go, and then at another meeting, actually down the road, when I was going to pick up something, a jacket or anywho, I went to pick up something and from the company. And at that point, he let me know that, just FYI, if we were dating, like the women I date, they get all the perks. Like, you'd get free articles, free ad space, get to come to any events. And honestly, I laughed because it's very uncomfortable. So for me, when I'm really uncomfortable, I'll laugh and try to make it funny or something because you're uncomfortable. So I laughed and said, yo, man, it's not crack. Like, it's just weed. Like, you're trying to pimp me out for weed right now? Like,
meanwhile, can I tell you what the appropriate response would have been?
To slap him? Probably not. I don't promote violence. My bad.
That is sexual harassment at one of the highest levels you can ever imagine.
And how often does it actually happen?
It happens every day.
In this unregulated community.
Every day. And I wish more women, I wish somebody would do that to me. Let me be real. I wish they would, because I feel like my response would be amazing. Like, I feel like at this point in my life, I can stand up to that. And that wasn't always the case. But I wish someone would dare to try to sexually harass me and see how that turns out for them.
To be fair, this person doesn't work with that company anymore, and they did end up reaping some repercussions to other things, not because of me at all.
Because karma's a bitch, and it comes around, and you can't be that dirty of a person.
But it's still, that's one person, guys. We could sit here. This would be a long show.
Yeah.
This would be more than one. This would be we could do a whole season, because unfortunately it's that prevalent within the community.
I want to talk just a little bit more about what you said. And yes, we're talking about pay to play. But the issue of you laughing to make it comfortable sticks with me, because in reality, your reaction should be, wow, the fact that you just said that to me, I'm going to go get a lawyer. And then we're going to have this conversation with him.
And do you want to know why I didn't? And this is just me being honest, guys. When I got that award, it felt so good.
As it should.
And I was afraid to lose it.
And fucking how dare he dim that?
I didn't want to do anything to ruin my relationship with that company. I know he's one individual, but he still is. When you work for a company, you're a representative of that company.
Yeah.
And if I'm being very honest with the audience, no, I wouldn't have jeopardized that. And I'm sorry to the women out there who do stand up. I'm just not there yet. You shouldn't
be sorry about it, because look, it's a real issue. Like, it's so hard to stand up, but I wish more women would and not be scared and realize, like, they have the power within themselves to do those things. Like, I've mentioned it before. It's actually a topic that matters to me, but like the fact that employers threaten, and especially women and especially people of color, that if they share their rate of pay, that they will be fired.
Oh, we had this conversation. I was very surprised about that.
This is how
I think we had it.
we had it briefly.
Yeah.
But like, this is how people keep themselves in a position to be victimized, right? Is they believe what people tell them, what the world tells them. And the world is telling you as a woman, if I speak up about being sexually harassed, I'm going to be seen as a problem. I'm going to be seen as someone people have to watch themselves around because she's going to cause legal issues for me. And that's such fucking bullshit, because you know what? We can have sexual jokes. We can have conversations that would probably be considered like taboo by HR, and
we
it's not.
We exfoliated balls last week, guys.
Exactly.
We didn't actually exfoliate them, but we talked about it.
And technically I'm sexually harassing the people around me right now by talking about it. But we don't feel that way because we know what our intentions are, right? And you know when someone is intending to exploit you for your body or exploit you for pay, and you know what people's intentions are, and that's when things become harassment. And when a woman actually speaks up about it, it should be taken so much more seriously than it is. And it bothers me. Ooh, this just became such a different episode.
I know.
I bothers
had
me
a whole
that
other
happened. That it really like bothers me in my soul that happens, because if I'm being real, like, I've supported this media company for many, many years.
Again,
monetarily.
this person is not.
Right. But like, there's a culture involved in companies that's pervasive. And when it happens at the top, at that level, it happens on so many other levels. And you have to think about how the woman in that company probably felt going to work every day.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a fucking shitty position to be in. And women are in that. Like, I want to cry because I've been there, and I'll never be there again because I've worked too long. But I've been there, and that really sucks. Oh my God, I really am crying.
I'm so sorry. I
didn't realize how triggering that was for me. But it's a fucked up position to be good at your job and have to worry every day about shit you have no control over.
I think just seeing your reaction, and for those that are just listening, she's got tears in her eyes, and I don't see this often from her, so I'm like really trying not to cry myself. But I think seeing your reaction is making me almost see, because I've never almost even said it like that. I've always joked about it and always made it funny when I have told it in the past to other people.
Yeah.
And I almost question myself and think, man, am I part of the problem in that I have accepted this as something that just is so prevalent in every industry, doesn't matter what industry I've worked at, that I'm like almost desensitized to it. Like, to me, it was almost funny, and it's like, not funny. I mean, it sucked when he did it, but it's like when I do talk about it, I do tend to add like a twist of humor, and I couldn't help but think, man, am I deflecting my own feelings? Like,
yeah,
it's just interesting. And then I hear you say that, and I think, man, I said it so almost casually, but there are women out there that probably get it on such a deeper level. And then, you know, for me, it was just words. For others, it might be pressure to actually do something and put those words to action. We totally redirect on this one. We're just going to keep it. I'm going to be honest, it's probably a lot of things that brought me to this point, because within the last 2 weeks, also the thing that hit me really hard was listening to AOC talk about her attack at the Capitol. And when I thought about it, I was like, that's just a woman at work doing her job. Like, I feel
beyond
for her.
all the
She has
political
gone through a lot.
repercussions she has, but beyond all the political repercussions, like, she just went to work to do her job, and she already deals with all the dirty shit people say to her on the internet about how they want to kill her and rape her and all of that.
Gosh.
I mean, it's really, really violent things they say about her because they don't agree with her political stance. And this woman deals with that every day at work from the entire United States of America. And then she goes to work one day and people literally come for her.
Yeah, I find myself almost at a loss of words.
Yeah.
It's, I even think too, do you remember when she called out, I'm not going to remember which senator, she called someone out, he called her a bitch. Can I say bitch? Yes, a bitch.
Yeah.
Called her a bitch.
Yeah.
I think
I can't
my
remember
heart
his name, but
stopped
yeah.
because as a citizen, forget as a girl, just as a citizen, these are the people that are representing America. Like, this is literally our representation. And this woman has to go into work and have a male counterpart call her a bitch. I gotta tell you, at any job I've worked at, that guy would have been fired.
Right.
But these are our elected representatives, and you're right. This was too big a topic to just brush it off. Like, it's a culture. We talked about it a few episodes ago, sexuality in the workplace. But I think we keep coming back to it because as women, it's such a big part of our lives.
Right.
And it's funny that I didn't even mean to go in that direction because it was so normalized to me almost that, like, it did. And it's tough now because we had other things we kind of want to talk about, but I also don't want to diminish.
And I think we can talk about other things still too. That's such when we talk about pay to play, like, money comes in different forms.
Wow. That is something we don't talk about. We don't view it that way, but you're right. Like, asking someone for, say, a sexual favor.
And money, not payment, comes in different forms is really what it is.
Yeah, you're right. Payment. Okay. I see that. But because, I mean, in that sense, money would almost make it like an asset, but it has kind of almost become that if you can trade it as a commodity.
Oh, it is. I mean, it is.
We got serious on this one. Oh, man.
Pay to play is real on so many different levels. And
Well,
your sexual harassment story, because that is what it is still a pay to play story.
Oh, yeah, because it was, first it was obviously actually asking me to pay.
Right.
And then, well, if that doesn't work, we got other payment plans. Like,
you
what?
can put it on layaway.
Right? Take it where? For those of you that remember last week. Anyways. At least we got a little laugh there. No, one other, I don't shake that all off, but one other area where I've also seen this is I had a job where I was a journalist for a company, and I got to write reviews and stuff. And when you get to work in that type of industry, now you get to see a whole other side of it and talk about pay to play. So the company that I used to write for, we'll let her get it out. What do we got? Is that fritter
Apple
again?
fritter.
Oh,
It's amazing.
Fan favorite, bringing it back. But sorry, the company I was writing for, I knew one of the employees, so I'd get the little backstory scoop. Let's grab you a water.
Right.
I can't reach it. But I got the back end scoop, and there was a situation. I had also been working with a pre-roll company, and so I couldn't help it. I asked, is our pre-roll, not you're going to make it or do this. I just asked, is it going to be in the article? And he actually said, oh, okay, I guess it'll be 8 of the best pre-rolls, not 7. And I went, oh, like we didn't make the list? And he said, no, it's not personal. It's just that we have a lot of sponsors and stuff. And so he extended it because I had seen some of those pre-rolls on the list, and they were boof, straight up boof. And I'm sorry, as a connoisseur of pre-rolls, I had a really tough time with that. So I just think that's another aspect of it. And so it's like, really, if you break that down, now you're talking about sneakiness from testing to the journalism side.
Hey, not every test lab is pay to play.
But I have to generalize. You're just defending the one amazing one you worked for, but there's a lot of ones.
And not even just that. Like, it's a larger like that.
I'm talking about the sneakiness that there's when we talk about pay to play. it is in every single aspect of cannabis,
Yeah.
and people, including us, are afraid to talk about it. We have not said one brand today, and let me tell you, when we first discussed doing this, we had a couple of brands we wanted to shout out, because we wanted to be the voice. We wanted to tell you guys the truth and say, look, this is happening.
Yeah.
You don't get to do this. And then guess what? Bigger partnerships come into play. Bigger relationships come into play.
That's
and so
facts.
we find ourselves a rock in a hard place. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I almost ask you guys, if you really have the opportunity, write in, give us ideas, because this changes with everybody. And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
we're at a loss, because we thought we could tell you guys something different today, and we couldn't.
No.
And we found our hands tied. We really did.
Well, so when you talk about that list of pre-rolls and it being bullshit, it probably was.
Some of it was. Some of it was legit.
In a large scale of things, when it comes to media and production companies and sponsorships and things like that, to an extent, I'm okay with some pay to play. And I'll tell you why. You need companies that promote cannabis content, that promote cannabis events, that do all of these things that expose cannabis to a larger audience. And they need money and capital
I'm
for that.
talking about the deception of it, though.
And that's where I'm going with this.
Okay.
So to
Jump
an
the gun.
extent, I think there is some fair pay to play. If you're a magazine, maybe don't make the list of 8 all of your sponsors, but maybe do a full 5-page feature on their production and their brand and their growers and all of that. There's different ways to pay to play. And
I like that.
I think that's okay. And I feel like that's acceptable in this industry, because we've been really, really stigmatized. And there's some amazing media and production talent within this space that's artistic and genuine and kind. And if we want them to succeed and to help us, like, we got to invest in that.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with some pay to play.
I just think it's the transparency factor. It's sort of like how
Yeah.
on Instagram, if you have an ad,
Yeah.
I don't think he'll care if I say this, inspired by cannabis. I saw it recently. He's a friend, and he had posted, I can't remember the brand, but it was a drink or something. And I saw it for the first time. It actually said sponsored ad. And I thought, go you.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it. Because really, like, a lot of times we work for free and it's not cool. It's not. And then it's like people want to trade. Look, if you have like 2 really cool products and you want to trade or something, cool. But sometimes it's like, I can't pay my rent in weed all the time, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I can't. Like
I need
I
cash.
need that money. You
Or I gotta
know,
shake
like,
this ass.
I love the weed too. Thank you for the gifts, but like, come on.
I'm gonna have to start an OnlyFans.
Only buds.
But it's a real thing that, like, people in this space need to make money.
Yeah.
And be compensated in a fair way.
Yeah.
I love that you brought up being paid in weed, because that happens.
All the time.
Yeah.
And look,
All the time.
there are situations where I accept.
Right.
I have a homie, the most fire ass weed.
Yeah.
And you know what? He'll give me an ounce or 2
Yeah.
in exchange for all sorts of things. Oh, no, not like that. Get your heads out of the gutter, everyone. Services, leads,
Right.
helping sell his products, promoting his products. In that case, it's not something huge. He's not asking me to go out of his way.
You're
If he
doing a lot of
sends
that
me-
anyways.
Right. If he sends me 2 ounces and then also sends me his amazing drink product,
Yeah.
of course I'm going to drink it and be like, damn, this is amazing. Check it out, guys.
Yep.
But the point is, when you are dealing with professionals, treat them professionally. And guys, don't insult their integrity. And like, you wouldn't offer your lawyer weed, you know?
I mean,
Well, actually, we once almost did.
yeah. Yeah.
But with money.
Yes.
With
Money
cash
attached.
as well. Again, it's okay to do a little of both, but ask people what they're comfortable with, you know? And that's what I'm getting back to is transparency. So on that note, guys, there's not enough transparency in the cannabis industry. You want to have a list with all your favorite sponsors? Cool. But say it. You want to sponsor an ad? Post it. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, and don't force people to pay to play, because getting an award and then finding out, like,
Yeah.
well, it was a lie. Like, there was no pressure. But just, yeah. That's all I got. Don't abuse your powers, people.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that was really awesome. I'm glad we got to shed some light on things. And, yeah, I think just stay transparent, stay elevated, and have a great evening.
Good night.
Good night.